Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers true threats, fighting words, and resisting, and is brought to us by California Body Cam's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. Channels like California Body Cam are a valuable resource to the public and deserve recognition, so be sure to check out his channel for the unedited footage. Before we dive into the interaction, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this episode, Rocket Money. I recently discovered that I was being charged every month for a newspaper subscription that I hadn't used in over a year. If you're anything like me and you have trouble keeping up with subscriptions, bills, and budgeting, then Rocket Money is the perfect app for you. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps its users manage subscriptions, lower bills, build a custom budget, and grow your savings all in one place. With Rocket Money, you can automatically monitor your spending by category, get notifications when you've exceeded them, and visualize your spend to earn ratio by month, quarter, or year. Rocket Money also helps negotiate your internet, phone, and cable bills so you can pay less on services you already have. Just snap a picture of your bill and Rocket Money will take care of the rest. If you'd like to start saving more and spending less, join the 3.4 million members using Rocket Money and download the app today. Scan the QR code on the screen and try it for free by heading to rocketmoney.com/audit or clicking my link in the description. That's rocketmoney.com/audit to get started for free. Thanks again to Rocket Money for sponsoring this episode. On May 15th, 2023, Patrolwoman Clements of the Logan Township Police Department pulled over a man just outside his place of employment in Logan Township, New Jersey. While she was conducting the stop, another employee, who we will refer to as Mr. Coworker, walked over and began to speak to her. The interaction that followed was recorded on the body cameras of the various officers involved.
Hello. How are you? I'm Officer Clements with Logan Township Police Department. Do you have your license, registration, insurance?
My license number, I thought I brought my license, but I was working, I got my license number.
That's no problem.
What did I get stopped for again?
So that plate cover on the back. So you can't have a tinted plate cover. The frame is fine, but the plate, it makes it difficult for the plate to see, so that is not allowed. Hello? I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop.
No, I know you work here.
Yeah, I understand that. That's fine, but I'm gonna stop. If you could just go back over there, please.
Talking to him. I ain't in no car. You gotta talk to me. Go.
25 cars, but somebody else slide out here. You know who this guy is?
Yeah, I know he is.
What's his name?
You gotta ask him.
You don't know his name?
I can't. I mean, I can't give you.
Yeah, some dude just walked up to my stop and told me that he's going to beat me up.
Patrolwoman Clements radios for backup, claiming that Mr. Coworker told her that he was going to beat her up. While the body camera did not capture all of Mr. Coworker's speech, the last two words he said clearly seemed to be, and I'm quoting, effed up. And Patrolwoman Clements later stated that Mr. Coworker told her he was going to, quote-unquote, F her up. Although the First Amendment ordinarily prohibits states from criminalizing speech, as the Supreme Court explained in the 2003 case of Virginia versus Black, quote, the protections afforded by the First Amendment are not absolute, and we have long recognized that the government may regulate certain categories of expression consistent with the Constitution. One of these categories is true threats, which the court defined in the Black case as encompassing, quote, those statements where the speaker means to communicate a serious expression of an intent to commit an act of unlawful violence to a particular individual or group of individuals. The court also recognized that, quote, intimidation in the constitutionally prescribable sense of the word is a type of true threat, where a speaker directs a threat to a person or group of persons with the intent of placing the victim in fear of bodily harm or death. Under Section 2C 12-3 of the New Jersey statutes, which defines the crime of terroristic threats, quote, a person is guilty of a crime of the third degree if he threatens to commit any crime of violence with the purpose to terrorize another, or in reckless disregard of the risk of causing such terror or inconvenience. According to the jury instructions for this statute, quote, the words or actions of the defendant must be of such a nature as to convey menace or fear of a crime of violence to the ordinary person. It is not a violation violation of this statute if the threat expresses fleeting anger or was made merely to alarm. Similarly, Section 2C33-4 of the New Jersey statutes, which codifies the offense of harassment, states that, quote, a person commits a petty disorderly person's offense if, with purpose to harass another, he subjects another to striking, kicking, shoving, or other offensive touching, or threatens to do so. Depending on the exact words that Mr. Coworker spoke, it is possible that he could be convicted of either of these offenses if he actually threatened to cause physical harm to patrolwoman Clements, and his words could be considered a so-called true threat, or another category of unprotected speech.
You don't have your insurance?
There, Gary.
All right, that's no problem.
44, just to clarify, this is a pedestrian that walked up on your stop. Can you give a brief description, please?
Yeah, it's a black male. He works at Lineage. He's about 35, red pants, navy blue hoodie, orange traffic vest. All right, listen. Let me check on this.
My registration, you could just run that too.
Yeah, I'll check on this, and when I come back, if you have your insurance, no problem. Thank you. Sir, you need to go back inside. Yeah, you need to go back inside. Let's go. I want to stop.
44, check-in.
I'm okay. The driver's being cooperative. I attached him, but this now is kind of just lingering, yelling at me.
All right, copy.
44, I'll be coming up on you in a second here. What's this guy look like again?
Black male, red pants, navy blue hoodie, orange traffic vest. He is inside the gates at Lineage. There's a few more people approaching now. You guys are good.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm sorry. Could you go back over there? I want to stop. It'll be 2 seconds.
I just came. I'm the supervisor here. I just came to see. He works here. That's why
Yeah, I understand. I'll be clear with him in 2 seconds.
And then I'm just asking you, is everything?
Yeah,
all right?
everything's fine, and I'll be clear in 2 seconds.
Can I ask you what he stopped for?
Yeah, he was stopped for the plate cover.
That's it.
Already?
So I want to ask you.
All right.
No, I don't got a problem.
Patrolman Andy Kalishian arrives on the scene and approaches Mr. Coworker and his supervisor.
I'm Mark. I'm on the supervisor. I just came to check on my employee. That's it.
Yeah, first off, first off, man, I did walk up and.
No, I didn't walk. She wasn't talking about me. Okay. She called about
Yeah, what's your deal, man?
They on the stop.
Yeah, but you don't need to be flapping your gums at us.
I got you. I live here. I got you. I'm gonna speak to him.
Now you're under arrest. Now you're under arrest.
You can't arrest me.
Now you're under arrest.
You can't arrest me.
Turn around.
Don't
Turn
touch
around.
me. Don't touch me.
Turn around.
Don't resist, bro. Bro, they can't lock me up. I ain't doing Listen to me, bro. Break my arm. Listen to me, bro. Listen to me.
Put this hand behind your back.
Stop.
Are
you gonna put him as tight as you can?
I'm not going to.
Like I explained to you, sir, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct.
What's your problem? Arresting me at work, bro? I ain't break no rules. No law. Get off me. Stop bringing my arm. Get my boss, yo. Yo, get that my boss.
Relax, all right?
Bro, that too tight.
All right, we will loosen it up, okay? You relax.
Bro, I just lost my daughter. You hear me?
Okay.
He did.
All right, okay. That's fine.
Bro, that's
Just
came back today from
all right, we will figure this out, okay? Dude, I'm sorry for your loss, right? But relax, okay? We're just going to roll you over and let you catch your breath, all right?
I know him, Carson.
Roll over.
Once we get you up, we'll loosen your cuff.
Yeah. What's your name?
I'll give you my name, bro. Came up on me.
So I asked you why you were flapping your gums at us, and your response to me was suck my.
Hey, you talking
with your
about why I'm
boss out
flapping
here.
my gums?
So now you're under arrest.
I'm checking with my coworker.
Well, now you're under arrest for using the words you had to use in front of everybody.
I want to talk to my boss.
No.
Yo. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it.
I'm trying to
It's
relax.
not worth it.
My phone not even on me.
It's
That's
not
what I'm
worth
trying
it.
to tell y'all.
Relax. Relax, bud. All right.
Hell, let me go.
Let's just put him in here.
You know I just lost my daughter, bro. They arrested me for nothing.
Can you calm down? This isn't going to get you any better. Take that anger down now.
Have a seat.
Okay, please. All right?
I did 11 years on parole. They keep doing this to me.
This year. They ain't going to solve anything. Peyton, is this who approached you?
Yeah, he told me that he was going to
Okay. Yeah, so his response to me, when I asked why he's flapping his gums to me while I was talking to your security officer, was suck my. Now he's under arrest for disorderly. You're not going to use that language. You got employees out over there I was speaking to him as well. Not having that.
Someone say that to you, bro.
Patrolman Kalishian explains that he arrested Mr. Coworker for disorderly conduct due to the words he chose to use to express his dissent. Under Section 2C 33-2 of the New Jersey statutes, quote, a person is guilty of a petty disorderly persons offense if, in a public place and with purpose to offend the sensibilities of a hearer or in reckless disregard of the probability of so doing, he addresses unreasonably loud and offensively coarse or abusive language, given the circumstances of the person present and the setting of the utterance, to any person present. The statute defines the word public as including, quote-unquote, places of business, so it is probable that a court would conclude that the encounter occurred in a public place. Nonetheless, it does not seem likely that a court would find that Mr. Coworker's speech was, quote-unquote, unreasonably loud, as he spoke at a normal volume and was outdoors. Further, even if Mr. Coworker's speech fit the requirements of the disorderly conduct statute, a New Jersey court would almost certainly conclude that it was protected by the First Amendment. In the 1971 case of Cohen versus California, the Supreme Court overturned a citizen's conviction for wearing a jacket emblazoned with a profanity, holding that, quote, the state may not, consistently with the First and 14th Amendments, make the simple public display here involved of this single four-letter expletive a criminal offense. However, it is important to note that the court clarified that this use of profanity did not rise to the level of so-called fighting words, defined as, quote, those personally abusive epithets which, when addressed to the ordinary citizen, are, as a matter of common knowledge, inherently likely to provoke violent reaction, and emphasized that, now quoting again, while the four-letter word displayed by Cohen in relation to the draft is not uncommonly employed in a personally provocative fashion, in this instance it was clearly not directed to the person of the hearer, and that, now quoting again, no individual actually or likely to be present could reasonably have regarded the words as a direct personal insult. Additionally, in the 1987 case of Houston versus Hill, the Supreme Court recognized that, quote, the First Amendment protects a significant amount of verbal criticism and challenge directed at police officers, and that, now quoting again, the freedom of individuals verbally to oppose or challenge police action without thereby risking arrest is one of the principal characteristics by which we distinguish a free nation from a police state. Nonetheless, the court also noted that, quote, the freedom verbally to challenge police action is not without limits, of course. We have recognized that fighting words are not constitutionally protected. Accordingly, some jurisdictions have concluded that profane insults directed at police officers are fighting words and therefore can be criminally punished. For instance, in the 2018 case of State versus Hale, the 6th District Court of Appeals of Ohio upheld an individual's disorderly conduct conviction for directing several obscene remarks, including the same phrase that Mr. Coworker used here, at a police officer, concluding that they were fighting words that, quote, would reasonably incite the average person to retaliate. However, in the 2003 case of Johnson versus Campbell, the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over New Jersey, held that, quote, swear words spoken to a police officer do not provide probable cause for an arrest for disorderly conduct because the words, as a matter of law, are not fighting words. Relying on this case, the U.S. District Court for the District of New Jersey determined in the 2022 case of Morales versus Maxwell that an individual could not be convicted of disorderly conduct under this statute for directing a profane insult at a police officer. Therefore, a court in New Jersey would likely conclude that Mr. Coworker could not be arrested simply for the remark he directed at Patrolman Kalishian, although a different jurisdiction may reach the opposite conclusion.
He's going to he's not going to jail or nothing. Right. Actually,
well, he might
be down because of.
We got terroristic threats on an officer too.
We got terroristic threats, resisting arrest.
We have it.
So,
we have it.
Eddie just walked away. You know, obviously when a car stops, don't walk up on us because it makes us nervous. And now he's walking up on her, threatening her.
Yeah, threatening me. So.
Sometime whether it's during lunch or whatever, get your camera stock.
And I'm hoping my camera fell off, and I don't even know if it was on. It's on now because I hit it. I saw that it was off when it fell.
Minimum disorderly conduct, terroristic threats,
and resisting.
Obstruction.
After Patrolman Kalishian mutes his body camera for a discussion, the officers determined that, in addition to charges of terroristic threats and disorderly conduct, the merits of which we discussed earlier in this episode, they will pursue charges of obstruction and resisting against Mr. Coworker. Under Section 2C 29-1 of the New Jersey statutes, which defines the crime of obstruction, quote, a person commits an offense if he purposely obstructs, impairs, or perverts the administration of law, or prevents or attempts to prevent prevent a public servant from lawfully performing an official function by means of flight, intimidation, force, violence, or physical interference or obstacle, or by means of any independently unlawful act. In the 2019 case of State versus Schneeberger, the Appellate Division of the Superior Court of New Jersey upheld an obstruction conviction against an individual who pulled away from officers, flailed her arms, and refused to place her hands behind her back to be handcuffed after an officer informed her she was under arrest. Additionally, in the 2015 case of State versus Reese, the Supreme Court of New Jersey explained that while the term lawfully performing an official function means that the police officer is acting in objective good faith and under color of law in the execution of their duties, quote, a suspect is required to cooperate with the investigating officer even when the legal underpinning of the police-citizen encounter is questionable. And that, now quoting again, once an officer makes his investigatory intentions clear and he is acting under the color of law, the validity of the underlying police action is inconsequential. Accordingly, if a court held that the officers were acting in so-called good faith when placing Mr. Coworker under arrest, it is likely that he could be convicted of obstruction for struggling with the officers as they attempted to arrest him, even if the underlying arrest was determined to be unlawful. As for the resisting charge, Section 2C 29-2 of the New Jersey statute states that, quote, a person is guilty of a disorderly person's offense if he purposely prevents or attempts to prevent a law enforcement officer from effecting an arrest. The statute also specifically states that, quote, it is not a defense to a prosecution that the law enforcement officer was acting unlawfully in making the arrest, provided he was acting under color of his official authority, and provided the law enforcement officer announces his intention to arrest prior to the resistance. Therefore, it is highly probable that a court would conclude that Mr. Coworker could be convicted of resisting, even if it also determined that the arrest was unlawful and the officers were not acting in good faith.
She came to the car, stopped her while she was trying to perform her lawful
Do we need to call his parole officer also?
If he's still on parole, yes. If he's not, he said he did 15 years on, so I'm assuming he's on parole now. When I approached him and told him, now you're under arrest, we was like right here.
Okay. You better now that you got some air going back there?
I was just trying to ask him what she was pulling him over for. I just watched him come out from work.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's really none of your business. A lot of cops get hurt with guys just walking up on them.
I know, but we get hurt from cops too, though. You understand?
Yeah, I get it, man. It's a crazy world we live in.
According to the Logan Township PD crime log, Mr. Coworker was taken to the Salem County Jail for processing, where he was booked on charges of terroristic threats, obstruction of law, resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, and harassment, and held. In summarizing the interaction, the crime log stated that while officers conducted a motor vehicle stop, quote, a pedestrian approached and began interfering with the officers and making threats. As officers addressed the pedestrian for his interference and threats, he began using profanity and continued the threats. While being placed under arrest, the pedestrian resisted and continued with the threats. At this time, no additional information is available about this encounter. Overall, the Logan Township officers, and Patrolman Kalishian in particular, get an F for repeatedly and unnecessarily escalating the situation, exhibiting a hostile and aggressive demeanor, and arresting Mr. Coworker because Patrolman Kalishian did not like his speech, despite the fact that the Third Circuit has clearly ruled that such speech is protected by the First Amendment. Although Mr. Coworker's speech seems to have offended Patrolman Kalishian, it is essential that officers have thick skin when dealing with the public, and, as Supreme Court Justice Lewis Powell noted in his concurring opinion in the 1974 case of Lewis versus City of New Orleans, quote, a properly trained officer may reasonably be expected to exercise a higher degree of restraint than the average citizen, and thus be less likely to respond belligerently to fighting words. In this encounter, I believe that Patrolman Kalishian demonstrated a lower degree of restraint than the average citizen, and it certainly seems that he chose to arrest Mr. Coworker because he injured his ego. Mr. Coworker gets a C, because although I strongly believe he was within his First Amendment rights in his speech towards Patrolman Kalishian, he inserted himself into a police investigation that did not involve him, and likely violated the New Jersey resisting and obstruction statutes during his struggle with the police officers. Although the body camera footage does not show all of the actions that Mr. Coworker took during the arrest, at the very least, he can be seen pulling away from the officers, which, given the low standard of opposition required for resisting and obstructing in New Jersey, would likely be sufficient to sustain a conviction. Now, while I understand that Mr. Coworker's actions were likely in response against the apparent violation of his First Amendment rights, given the fact that many states, including New Jersey, do not recognize a right to resist an unlawful arrest, this encounter demonstrates why citizens typically only hurt themselves when they refuse to comply with an officer's attempts to arrest them. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.